All right, welcome to episode 15 of Tales from the Bridge. This is the all trivia episode, and this is probably something we're going to do every once in a while, so we hope you enjoy trivia, and maybe you'll learn a little bit of something, because I certainly learned a lot on this episode. So, all right, let's make our way over to the bridge. Should we start with Dune?
Yeah,
Get right into Dune or Saw? Yeah, all right.
Dune,
yeah. So given that the new Dune movie's coming out soon, and that we've all read Dune and we all like Dune to a certain extent, let's do some Dune trivia. So I'm going to read out the question, and if you've got an answer, shout it out. If nobody knows, I've got some multiple choice answers here for you. So, question number 1. Are you ready here?
Yes.
Okay.
go for it.
Most of Paul's story unfolds on Arrakis, but he wasn't born there. What's the protagonist's native planet?
Caledonia. No, those are places close to here. Caledonia.
Just outside Hamilton.
Well, you
It's
did
something like that. Caledon was my first answer.
I think it's
but
Caladan, isn't it? Caladan.
Yes, it is. It's Caladan. And in fact, I think you got it, Tristan. You called it Caledon.
I'd give you that. Yeah.
well, if I was speaking with a British accent, that would be Caledon.
Yeah, that's right. So both you guys knew that one. And interestingly, Frank Herbert owned a 40-foot sailboat that he named the Caledon after Paul's watery homeworld.
Ah, nice.
Cool.
Question 2. Who's playing fan favorite Gurney Halleck in Denis Villeneuve's upcoming adaptation of Dune?
Halleck, right.
He's from the Goonies. What's his name? Josh Brolin.
You got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're totally
Yeah,
right.
he's the older brother in the Goonies.
Oh, well done.
Really? That's Josh Brolin? Man.
Yeah.
A hired fighter with a certain roguish charm. Halleck was played by Sir Patrick Stewart in the 1984 version.
Oh, right.
But, yeah, we talked about it in the first episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did the young pup.
Mm-hmm.
I won't do that again. I'm cutting that out.
Josh Brolin.
Dumb.
Okay. Question number 3. Oh, and just to be clear here, this is Tristan has 2 points.
Oh.
So he's leading the charge here.
I'll fall behind. Don't worry.
I don't know. Question 3. Since it never rains on Arrakis, what do many of the native birds drink?
It's probably
Dude.
pee. It's pee.
It's pee.
It's some kind of dude,
Like
right?
worm pea?
It's not pea. It's
I
not
don't
worm
know.
pea. Do you guys want the multiple choice options?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. First one is sandworm excrement. The second one, which I've already said isn't the right one, is urine. The third one is blood.
Hmm.
Oh,
I'm going to say blood.
Blood.
yeah.
Blood. Okay. So now I think I might have heard Tristan first say that.
No, Marty said it
No.
at the same time, didn't he?
Marty said at the same time? Okay.
Well, I think all
right.
3 of us did. I don't know.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
like, it was
What the hell?
Everybody will get a point if this one's correct. And it is blood. Reportedly, the planet's birds eat carrion out of necessity. Desert creatures get tough breaks. By the way, these questions are coming from a quiz from howstuffworks.com. Excellent little Dune quiz. That's where I'm getting these from. Okay, so I'm going to give one to each of you because you all seem to answer at the same time. Question 4, my second last question. Early in the original novel, Paul foils an attempt on his life. What weapon almost kills him?
Seeker.
It's a little robot that comes out of the wall. I don't know its name, though, yeah.
So the judges say that Tristan's answer is only partially correct.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, you guys can get this. Come on.
A heat seeker?
Close.
I can picture
Oxygen
it.
seeker? Air seeker? No.
Yeah, what does he go for? Is it
CO2.
warmth? What does he fall? I forget
I
what he
think
tracks.
I think it
Movement,
tracks his
isn't it?
breath, doesn't it?
It tracks his breath?
So it'd be CO2, maybe.
Oh.
Like mosquitoes.
Like noise, a noise seeker.
Ooh.
Oh, right.
But
Sound
it's
seeker.
something sounds yeah. Mm.
I happen to think back to the movie. I haven't read the book, so
I could give you guys the multiple choice options
Yeah.
if you want. Okay, the first one is a
Sure.
stone burner. The second one is a Chris knife. And the third one is a hunter seeker.
Hunter seeker.
hunter seeker.
I heard Marty first.
Yeah,
I need
there.
a point.
for
I need
sure.
a point.
Airborne, remotely operated, and able to bury itself in human flesh. This little murder machine raises questions when it shows up at the Palace of Arakeen. Okay, good work, everybody. So far, Tristan is in the lead with 3, Marty with 2, and then Sam with 1. My final question for Dune here is, giant sandworms are unlikely steeds, yet the Fremen of Arrakis ride them all the time. How do they do it?
Ropes and hooks?
That's the answer. Tristan, you
There
got
you
it.
go.
It's with hooks. After luring the beasts, Fremen use elongated maker hooks to pull back on the body segments. This forces the worms to turn, lest the sands cause tissue damage. So,
And let's just be reminded of the end of the David Lynch film when Paul is riding one and the music from what's that 80s band starts playing, the guitar stuff. What were they called again?
Platinum Blonde.
No.
Kiss.
More proggy, but like
yes.
no. That'd be awesome though. No, Toto.
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 Okay.
And they have one of my favorite songs ever that I forget. Down in Africa, love that song.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Da-da-da-da.
that is a great song.
Yeah,
So those are my 5 Dune questions.
nice.
Nice.
All right, so I am doing film. That's my category. So all of my, even though some of these questions might have references to the book made into a film, but for the most part, it's film. So, first question, and I kind of wrote these myself to sound more like the answer from Jeopardy.
Mhm.
So if you could say "what is," you get 1,000,000 points for each time you say that.
Holy man! Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
But you could just say the answer, which is actually the question, but you don't have to say what is. But it is the name of the main interface and ruler of Machine City in the Matrix Revolutions.
It's the name of the main interface.
and ruler. The architect. What is the architect? Who is the architect?
No.
Dang.
You repeat the question again?
It is the name of the main interface and ruler of Machine City in the Matrix Revolutions. So if you remember the end where he has to be plugged in to fight Smith, because Smith is a virus that is taking over Machine City, essentially, and the whole interface because he's a crazy virus. So the main antagonist, which is the thing we're talking about, is the main interface who says to Neo, yes, I'll plug you in. You'll be in like the craziest high def shit ever because he's plugged in. He's not wireless. And yeah, he fights Smith to save Machine City. But this main interface has a name.
I don't remember. And I just watched these, rewatched
So
these.
did I.
like,
I
about
just
a month
rewatched
ago.
these recently too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they say the name more than once, actually. So it's a little bit obscure. Maybe I should have saved that for later.
Well, you got
So
to
if you guys
name.
can't name it, let me just help you get there. Help you get there.
Yeah, that's good.
So it definitely sounds Latin. You could think of something. There's actually words used to describe machines and especially AI or robots by using this Latin phrase.
Deus ex machina.
Exactly.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes.
that's just
Nice.
the Latin phrase.
That
came
is
to mind.
the answer.
I'm awesome with my Matrix trivia. No, wow, okay, that's what it's called.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Nice.
So
I don't remember hearing that.
it's
No, me neither.
it's an obvious answer, but it actually is difficult. To be honest, if you asked me that right now, I wouldn't have known if I didn't look this up. It's a tricky one, even though it's easy because what Latin term that kind of helps you get there a little bit.
Totally.
So the
All right.
architect is not the baddie that we're talking about here.
No, so the architect would be a system of Deus Ex Machina.
Okay.
Would be he's underneath him because Deus Ex Machina is the ruler of Machine City and everything's plugged into that. So
Okay.
So that's
So
like
that-
the ghost in the machine, right? Is that what Deus ex machina means?
I believe so.
So that's another
right.
point for Marty. That brings you to 3, 1 behind Tristan.
Woo-wee.
All right.
Prize here. What are we playing for, guys?
Bragging rights.
Here's the second question. Georgie, Dim, and Pete are known as these gang members in Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange.
Is
Georgie, Dim,
Brugge?
and Pete. You got it.
Bruggs?
Oh, no. You're very close.
Ever wondered what it takes to make it in the movie business? Peel back the curtain with 4-6 Success Filmmaking. 4-6 Success Filmmaking is where filmmakers share their stories and the secrets.
It's beyond competitive out there.
There have been movies that it's taken me 10 years to get made.
Don't wait to create. Like, you've got to just keep making stuff.
Tune in to 4-6 Success Filmmaking for your dose of cinematic realness, direct from the voices that have lived it.
Groogs or Bruggs or Droogs? It's Droogs.
You got it.
Right.
Sam got it. Nice.
Oh, that's a great word.
Georgie, Dim, and Pete.
Sam got another point there. 2 points for Sam. Zilch for Kevin.
You're 5 questions in the negative, aren't you?
That's true.
All right. Oh, Kevin will get this one. Edmund's planet and Gargantua are 2 of the few planets from this 2014 film.
Interstellar.
Exactly. Sorry, I feel like I might have handed that over to Kevin, but I realized when I was reading it, you're an Interstellar fan. It's one of your favorite films.
It's true. It is. Yep. I would have gotten it even if you hadn't started it out that way. Okay. I'm on the board now with 1 point.
All right. The 4th question. This actor played alongside Ethan Hawke in the 1985 film Explorers. You guys remember this one where they make their own spaceship? It has like the tilt-a-whirl kind of thing, and they do everything perfectly.
Yes, yeah. It's like I feel like it's one of the Rat Pack from like the mid '80s, or who would become, I guess, like River Phoenix.
Yes. Yes.
wow.
You got it.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. Another one of my favorites, especially from the 80s. It might be my favorite.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I could picture it. I could even picture the aliens that they encounter, which are ridiculous by today's standards.
Oh yeah.
Like this
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of rubber.
Yeah.
It's
If you watch that movie now, it's like easy to watch and it's a great film until they get to the aliens. And then it's like, oh my God, this is just goofy and
yeah, it did have a sort of like it had a sort of magic quality to it until that point. It didn't need that reveal. Like it deserved better. It had it almost like a Last Starfighter kind of magic to it as a kid, anyways. That I felt, and you're right. Yeah, it kind of runs up against this sort of schlocky like set of aliens that kind of like brings it down a peg. You know.
Yeah. All right. Question number 5. This film used sound bites of rubbing a pumpkin to create a creature sound, and was the first documentary-style film to be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. Oh, this is good. I'm glad you guys didn't get this right away, because it's going to be a very good reveal. It's going to be a fun one because...
So it's a doc-style sci-fi-ish movie with... What is it they call that when they use using something for sound effects? That's a whole art form in it.
What are they called?
And there's something artists. There's a name for it. This is not the answer we're looking for. Sorry, I've taken us off track.
The creatures in this film, the language sound, the sound to help them express the sound that they made in the film. A part of that probably collaboration of sounds to create the sound, but one of them was rubbing a pumpkin to create that sound.
A Foley artist is what they're called. So, anyways, that's a side. But documentary conceit.
Well, the only documentary style one that I know of was District 9.
Well, that's the answer to the question. Come on, guys. We just talked to the guy who made that movie.
I was going to say, couldn't be.
Yeah, it is true. That's the only documentary style one I could think of, too. But I thought it was too obvious.
And it's science fiction, and it was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars.
Oh, my gosh. We should have had that way earlier.
Well, I think you should get 2 points for District 9 there. We're all stumped, and it was sitting right in front of us the whole time.
That's true. Well, we should have picked up on that one.
I got distracted by the name of Foley artist. I was like thinking of the wrong thing.
A Foley artist. I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what they were called.
I think being a Foley artist must be, if you can make it work, it would be a great job. Just go in and just like grab random stuff and make sound effects all day. Feels like a kind of fun way to make a living.
Yeah, that would be fun. I listened to a podcast called 99% Invisible. It's sort of a design podcast, and they did an episode one time on this cartoon sound effects library that was used quite frequently in the 50s and 60s, and it was used so much in like Hanna-Barbera ones that they became iconic. Like the sound when somebody starts running but they're still in the same location, sort of that squeaking sound, and the bonk sound when somebody gets bonked on the head, or anyway, apparently that library was of sounds transferred ownership like 3 or 4 times, and became this set of iconic sounds that were used in hundreds, maybe thousands of cartoons.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that podcast. I haven't listened to it in forever, but I love that it delivers that kind of arcane info and
random stuff.
Yeah.
So what I ended up choosing were just things that maybe the questions may or may not be that interesting, but the answers turn out to have some cool like plot points or ideas in them. So that's really why I picked these. So we'll start with an easy one. I think an easy one. I hope an easy one. The word grok now seems firmly established in the English language. In which seminal Robert Heinlein novel of the 1960s was it coined?
The Martian.
Stranger in a Strange Land.
Yep. Stranger in a Strange Land.
Nice.
It's not called The Martian.
Are they?
That's Andy Weir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they are Martians, though, right?
They are Martians. Well, Michael Valentine is a Martian, right? I think that's in the first line or something of the book.
Yeah.
Yes, Stranger in a Strange Land. Now, the interesting little tidbit that I dug up about this is that, at least on this quiz where I got it from, by the way, these are all from www.funtrivia.com. If you type in like category science fiction, there are about 50 different quizzes there, and they were kind of fun. So grok seems to have become widely coined because of its association with the murderer Charles Manson, which I did not know. So apparently Charles Manson used this word, and then he was interviewed and made his own infamy, and so I think that's actually how it made its way into popular culture. But I also dug a little further, and it says Manson never read Stranger in a Strange Land. He never heard of the book. He picked it up just from people around him that had read the book, and he thought it was so. He started using it from there. Anyway, so that's how grok came to us. If anybody doesn't know, grok is this word for kind of getting it. Like, I totally grok that, man. I think from what I recall, that's the usage.
I think so too. Understand.
Yeah.
Get it. Yeah.
Dig it. Get it in your bones. I think that kind of thing. Yeah. All right. So here's an interesting one. So I got this one wrong when I was going through this. In the novel Brave New World, the philosophy of the world state was built around the ideas of which famous 20th century person? And we can move to multiple choice here if you need.
Repeat the question one more time, please.
In the novel Brave New World, the philosophy of the world state was built around the ideas of which famous 20th century person?
Ooh, okay.
Marx?
Nope.
Before, it's definitely they gotta think 1920s, I guess, like, because the book, like, it was written in 1932. Brave New World, 1932. That's extremely early. So I want to say, like, I'm not going to say Einstein because he didn't really have a philosophy,
Right.
but he was, and
He would have been around.
but he wouldn't have had anything to do with, like, any sort of pharmaceuticals. Which, who was doing pharmaceuticals back then?
I don't even know what it would relate to. Like, I'm not even sure I could put my finger on what type of society that relates to.
All right, so let me give you guys the multiple choice here. Ayn Rand, Jean-Paul Sartre, Henry Ford, or Buckminster Fuller.
I'm as a Buckminster Fuller fan, I'm just going to say it's got to be him because he was just brilliant, unbelievable guy. But yeah, I don't think it could be the first two.
Any other guesses?
I'll guess Ayn Rand.
I'm going to guess Ford just for the sake of completeness.
Yeah. Boom! You got it, Kevin.
I did.
Ford.
It is Ford. Oh, wow.
Surprisingly. Right, these are kind of misleading. You'd sort of think it might be Ayn Rand because it's kind of, this dystopian kind of society. You might think it's Sartre because of, I just like, again, it's bleak and existential sort of thing. You might think, but no, it makes sense actually. So it's quite explicit in the novel. It's set in 2540 AF after Ford. And well, Ford was all about the assembly line, right? So extensive use of the assembly line plays a role in Brave New World, because in this world, people are engineered genetically to fit predetermined roles. So, and then they're kept peaceful through the use of a drug called soma. But it is a sort of assembly line society, right, where everybody's pigeonholed into their role.
That makes sense. And in fact, that's now that you mention it, that is pretty clear.
Yeah, Aldous Huxley was a remarkable person. So he obviously took issue with Ford and the way he did things, and really incorporated it into his writing. 1932 that came out. So a lot of people compare it to 1984, which I believe is 1949.
1948. I just found that out today. We just flipped the two numbers, 84, 48. So it was published in 48.
Yeah, which is so much later. So I mean, Brave New World gets a lot of points just for that, 1932. But Aldous Huxley, he wrote The Doors of Perception, and he had done mescaline and LSD and things in the 50s and 60s, but was obviously a lot older than most of the people doing it. Apparently a lot of argument in the early 60s between what, I guess, to figure out what to do with mushrooms and like psilocybin mushrooms and LSD. Aldous Huxley wanted to have a system in which people apply. So regular citizens would have to apply and pass multiple tests to be able to do LSD, and even mushrooms for that matter, but LSD and mescaline, that kind of thing. And Timothy Leary wanted it to be available for everyone. Obviously, that libertarian attitude, it should be available for anyone to take like food. And unfortunately, he grabbed so much more media and attention for his view. That's what everyone adopted as the view of what we should do with LSD, and obviously it was illegalized very quickly. But Aldous Huxley endorses the perception. He even talks about driving around LA and doing LSD, and everything is very reflective, and talking about how this is a privilege to be able to experience this, and it's not something that everyone should just have like alcohol. And obviously he didn't say much about it, but he definitely wrote to the government about this and had philosophical ideas of what to do with psychedelics in the future. But Timothy fucked everything up.
Well, let's say it was legalized and you had to pass a test. What kind of test would you have to write to be able to take LSD? Like, is it a math test?
No, it'd be psychological, I think. Maybe like simple like IQ, but also psychological.
So dumb people don't get it.
Well, I imagine it would be like a
exactly.
test for mental stability or something, right? Like, like if you're the same kind of test that like a government agency would put someone through for psychological robustness or something, right? But
so no fragile folk.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right.
Interesting. I didn't know that. All right. Let's go on to the next one here. So this is a weird question, and I just like it because it's a cool idea in here that I hadn't heard of. So imagine a world where the second law of thermodynamics was reversed, and entropy is no longer a thing to fear. Objects no longer wear down with continued use. Instead, using an object will make it better. Axes become sharper as they cut down more trees, and clothing becomes finer the more it is worn. Which author imagined such a world in 1984's The Practice Effect?
Oh.
And who wrote it?
Yeah, who wrote that?
Holy smokes.
I don't know that, but I like the idea. The idea that
cool idea,
entropy
right?
goes backwards. Doesn't that imply that time goes backwards? Because isn't entropy and time kind of intricately linked?
I mean, it is a theory of time that the arrow of time is established by the increase of entropy. That's like the only way that. But that's interesting because it implies that time is a macroscopic effect. Right, you can only have entropy with multiple objects and complex systems, many atoms, that kind of thing. And so that sort of implies that time doesn't have an intrinsic direction for like quantum mechanical effects or individual atoms, which seems to be the case from the laws of physics.
And relativity too, because if it is micro, then things could change depending on where you are and what's going on. Quantum decoherence.
I've heard the title of that book, but I cannot think of who.
You're getting there. I thought you'd be the one to know this. It is true. It's someone you've been reading. Oh, I've kind of given it away now if I give you guys the multiple choice. All right, so Ben Bova, Greg Bear, David Brin, Gregory Benford. All 1980s classic sci-fi.
Are they all B names?
They're
Greg
all
Bear.
B names. Bova, Bear, Brin, and Benford.
Is it Greg Bear?
Any other guesses?
1984. That's a bit early for Bryn. Bova, I don't know well. I'm gonna just say I do not know Bova well. And the other one was Benford. Also in the same category as Bova for me, where I see the books, I see his name. I just have not jumped into those books yet. So I'm going to go 50-50 and just say Benford.
No.
Bova.
And no. And come on, Sam.
I forgot the choices.
I think you win it by default anyway, even if you forgot the choices.
Bova, Bear, Brin, or Benford.
I guess that makes it Bryn.
It is Bryn.
Hey.
It's Bryn.
Gave it to you, Tristan. You've been reading Bryn, man. That's why it seems familiar.
And with that, Sam pulls into the lead.
That's unfair.
Sam's got 5 points, and Tristan and Marty both have. Tristan has 4. Marty and I both have 3.
Well, I've gotten all the points I can get because
that's true.
Because
you're next. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Yeah. So anyway, that's just a cool idea, right? Like things going upwards against entropy. So in this book, he suggested there was, a society where there was a profession of practicers, right? Hence the practice effect. So if you wanted to have several fine sets of clothing, you could hire people to wear it for you, and it would get better the longer they wore it. So anyway, it's a cool idea.
That is
All
really
right.
cool.
Next question. In one of his short stories, Isaac Asimov described a world surrounded by 6 stars. With so many stars, one of them is almost always in the sky, and night comes but once in 1,000 years. What would a people do upon their first sighting of thousands of points of light in the sky? In which 1941 story did Asimov attempt to answer this question? I think I might just have to give you guys the multiple choice right away here.
41? Holy smokes!
1941.
Is it his debut? Is it his debut? Because that just seems like I don't know.
Is he in high school when he wrote that?
Yeah, I need the multiple choice.
Okay, so the multiple choice here is: if this should go on, Foundation's Edge, Nightfall, and Evening Stars. Nightfall. Well, yeah, it sort of gives
I was going to say Nightfall, and I didn't because I thought that was made into a movie.
It was made into a novel, so I think they're referring to a short story from 1941. But I have read the novel Nightfall, so I think he expanded it into a full-length novel.
Okay,
Nice.
all right.
So that's Nightfall. Again, a cool idea, right? So the neat little point here I wanted to bring up is Asimov wrote this story after reflecting on a quote by Emerson. If the stars should appear one night in 1,000 years, how would men believe and adore and preserve for many generations the remembrance of the city of God? So, I mean, that's just a bit of poetry there. But yeah, imagine if like a whole culture only saw the stars once every 1,000 years, then the stars would be pretty wacky, right? And what would happen? And they wouldn't develop astronomy, and like it was just daytime all the time, and you never knew.
Without being able to observe the stars, you'd be set back, and with physics too, you wouldn't know a lot of stuff about the universe.
Yeah, or navigation. You couldn't get across oceans.
And it was made into a movie. I just googled it. Nightfall, 1988. Yeah.
Oh man, he's probably. There's been a lot of adaptations.
I want to see that then.
Yeah, I think I'd seen it a long time ago.
Cool. All right, I think I'm on my last question here, number 5. That's kind of probably an easy one. I got a choice of 2 here. Yeah, okay. So in what novel by Kurt Vonnegut does he raise the possibility of an as yet undiscovered form of water, terming it Ice 9?
That was in a series of short stories called Welcome to the Monkey House, wasn't it?
It wasn't a novel. It was a whole specific one of his most famous novels. That I mean, maybe he turned those into a novel. I don't know.
No, I'm probably misremembering it.
Slaughterhouse 5?
Ice 9. No.
I kind of want to say it's one of 2. I would say, and I think it's Sirens of Titan.
No.
Oh, then I know the other one. I think Cat's Cradle.
It's Cat's Cradle. Nice.
Yeah, should have said that first.
Yeah. I've always known about Ice 9 as like classic sci-fi sort of set of ideas and stuff, but Cat's Cradle just as a title has nothing to do with that. So I never knew that that's actually what book it was from.
Yeah.
So I remember saying earlier, like I almost did a Vonnegut book for the first time. It was my turn to do a book with you guys, and I chose Philip K. Dick. But I wanted to do Sirens of Titan, and but I wanted to do a Vonnegut book because a lot of people that like science fiction don't necessarily get into Vonnegut, but it's amazing. Like I've read, I think 3 or 4, and I'm impressed every time. It's fun. Mind you, it's not like modern stuff. It definitely feels classic, but it's a dry, hilarious writing style.
Yeah.
And he proposes sci-fi ideas. He's just not considered like the best of sci-fi because his stuff is literally, or I guess a literary accomplishment in itself. Especially for classic comedic science fiction or even just literature, I guess.
And he is so cynical about society, and it's everything's a reflection of something in society that he wants to poke at, right?
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I remember I read that book, Cat's Cradle, when I was in high school, I believe, and I remember
You
being on a
hippie.
I
You
know.
fucking hippie.
I know. I remember on the train reading this thing and reading about Ice Nine, and it kind of blowing my mind because
Yeah.
I remember thinking,
Yeah.
God, this is pretty cool. Imagine if all the water on the planet froze at a different temperature. I mean, that's quite the concept.
Yeah. So just to explain again for our listeners, so Ice Nine is meant to be this form of water whose freezing point is higher than room temperature, and if left alone, it would tend to freeze rather than melt. And it's also the idea was that it was a seed crystal, right? So crystals are often the formation of a crystal is catalyzed by like a seed of a crystal, and then everything sort of packs on top. So if a small amount of Ice Nine is dropped into a glass of normal water, then the water will change state and sort of solidify. And then, the big question is, well, what if some of this got in the ocean, and then suddenly, right, we would have like all the water in the world would solidify. Now, the interesting thing I learned, again, in this question is that Ice Nine was meant to serve as a parallel and a symbol for the nuclear threat that gripped the world in 1963 when the novel was published. So, this idea that is this a runaway effect, right? Somebody starts and then everybody else has to pile on. And suddenly the world is nuclearized. So, yeah.
Sounds very Vonnegut.
Yeah.
Well, he was a veteran of World War II, and he saw some interesting stuff and wrote about it very obviously through science fiction. It's fantastic.
Good ones. Those are great, Marty.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers.
Yeah,
thanks.
great.
All right.
All right, Sam. You're
All
up.
right, let's get goofy.
Yeah, I decided to keep it light, which I can usually be relied upon. That's what I like to bring to this table. So my questions focus on cartoons, sci-fi cartoons, that were aired or were still airing during the 80s. So,
so not even the 90s
okay.
here. You're just sticking to the 80s.
yeah, I was going through and I was looking for different. I was veering towards the 90s, and then I realized everything I needed happened between 1984 and 1989. That's all you need to know about cartoons. And
yeah. What's the tally at though? If we can, what's the tally at there, Kevin?
The tally is really tight here. So Sam's leading with 5 points. Tristan, you and I are in the middle at 4 points, and Marty's trailing at 3 points. So really, it's anybody's game at this point.
Okay. So I'm going to start off with sort of an obscure cartoon that everyone knows, but it's not too tough a question, hopefully. So Robotech, and this is the original series from 1985 in U.S. terms, U.S. and North American terms. Robotech began with an 85-episode anime series that was first released in the United States in 1985, and the U.S. version that we saw was adapted with edited content from actually 3 mecha anime series from Japan that ran between 1982 and 1984. Now, the question is this. In the series, robotechnology refers to the scientific advances that were discovered. How was this tech discovered?
Really smart people thought it up.
No.
They found it from aliens.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bam.
In an alien starship that crashed in the South Pacific, with this technology, Earth developed robotic technologies such as transformable mecha to fight 3 successive extraterrestrial invasions.
So I would say I have seen this maybe once or twice as a kid, and years and years and years ago, and that's amazing that was the case. Okay.
Nice.
And it's pretty interesting. Like when I was looking into this and sort of digging into how they sort of came up with this U.S. version of this series, and they basically just like cobbled together 3 individual Japanese anime series to come up with a storyline that all sort of shared a similar premise. I thought that was pretty good. So just for our listeners, those 3 series, if you want to see them individually as true Japanese anime, are Super Dimension Fortress Macross, from 1982 to 1983. And Super Dimension Cavalry Southern Cross from 1984. And Genesis Climber Moss Pita, 1983 to 1984. I may be pronouncing that incorrectly, but
So you can imagine these writers just saying anything anime, anything Japanese is cool. Let's just take these concepts and smush them all together, and we'll have a winner.
yeah, and they were similar enough that they could kind of get away with it. Because I remember watching. Well, I mean, 10-year-old Sam thought all these robots were pretty cool. I didn't really care about the story, so who knows? Maybe they don't. Maybe the U.S. series doesn't, age well. But
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, that's how they came about. I remember watching the movies that made us, or the cartoons that made us, or the toys that made us, or one of those that made us, documentaries. The Power Rangers were totally like, some guy just went over to Japan and saw what they were doing, and he came back, and he was an American, I think, and he worked for like a long time trying to convince people that like kids are gonna love this, and nobody believed him. And then he put together this like show totally in the style of, they even filmed it over there, but it was for America, and it took off like crazy. So
Yeah.
I imagine he was writing on the coattails of these guys.
I mean, I did 3D animation, and we did a sort of as a sort of micro credential after university, and we got a bit of a history lesson on animation, and there are different styles, definitely, but the certain things translated over really well, But in the Japanese anime, there's still that long held sort of hero poses, right? Like if a character's moving, there'll be like a scream and a really dynamic position, and then lots of like flashy straight lines happening around them. And it still sort of carries as you get reads, you understand what's happening. It's got a cool sort of style, and you don't have to necessarily, have a seizure trying to catch up with some character going nuts. But anyways, it's another topic for another day. But so moving on. This is question number 2, Rocket Robin Hood, which ran from 1966 to 69, but we all watched it in the 80s, so I decided to qualify. And in Rocket Robin Hood, the show would always do these little character profiles. And the most iconic of these was Friar Tuck taking a bite of something and tossing it over his shoulder on a loop. What 4 foods was he wasting in that loop?
I totally remember this.
4 foods.
I think there was
an apple.
A turkey leg.
Oh.
Was there a turkey leg?
Yes.
Was there an apple?
Yes.
A ham? No. Oh. Those are the only 2.
So,
How about
so
bread?
can we take what Kevin gave us and build
you
on
can
that
take
for
and
a
roll with
second?
it. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can add to
So
it.
let me give it a go. So turkey leg,
Yes.
apple,
Yes.
breadstick,
No.
bread. Oh, I thought it would be bread.
No.
Yep.
Turkey
Marble.
leg, apple, corn.
No.
Baguette.
No.
Pain au
No.
chocolat.
If it was baguette, I'd be pissed because I said bread.
It's one of those things. I don't know why. It was just sort of this indelible memory I have of that show, and me thinking as a kid, going, "Oh man, there's still a lot of good chicken left." He just tossed it over his shoulder.
I know. I remember thinking the same.
Yeah.
That's good chicken right there.
So,
Fryer.
I guess I can give. I got 2 multiple choices to. There's 2 more foods that were tossed over his shoulder with abandon. Was it a peach? Was it a steak, sausage, or grapes?
Sausage.
Grapes.
Yes. All right. I don't know how we score that.
What, it was sausage and grapes?
Yeah, it was an apple, then a chicken, then a sausage, and then grapes. And I
Wow.
had to watch it a couple times, and it's easy to miss the sausage.
Yeah. I gotta say, Kevin got us there with the turkey leg and the apple. That's good.
Yeah,
I got
Well,
the
that's
apple
0.5.
too, though. I got
That's
it first.
0.5, I think, for me.
you want to each share half a point between?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then Tristan and Marty, I think you guys get.
Well, I just said grapes, and grapes is
Yeah.
the easiest thing to animate.
Yeah, but you still get it. And I think Marty, you get.
I think we
Well,
might just get a point.
How
for
about
that.
we just? How about we
Well,
get
how
a
about nobody
three-way
gets a
tie?
point
We've
for
had
that?
one already, so we've set a precedent for it. You can each get a point.
All right.
All right.
But that's unfair to you, Sam.
That's okay. No one expected me to win this one.
I think
Well, you
Sam
are
was a
winning.
part
You
of-
were winning.
Sam was actually a part of the one where everyone got 1 point. So it's actually equal.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, it's all good.
Let's recap the points here just so everybody's aware. So I'm in the lead right now with 6 points. Tristan and Marty are both tied. No, Tristan and Sam are both tied with 5 in the middle, and Marty, you're still behind at 4.
Okay, and we have 3 more
Okay.
questions.
Yeah.
Three more opportunities here. Okay, Voltron.
Ooh.
Or
Voltron.
Japanese style animation.
Yeah, it's when you go to like sci-fi cartoons in the 80s, you can't. You're gonna be anime heavy. It's there's no avoiding it. They just do it right. And Voltron, featuring a team of space explorers who pilot a giant super robot known as Voltron, was an adaptation of several Japanese anime television series and aired in syndication from September 10th, 1984 to November 18th, 1985. The question is, how many Voltrons were there? And for the bonus mark, which one was the best?
5,
The
and the head
objective
was the best.
And as a hint, there was like, and I'm not talking about all the little robots that made the big robot. I'm talking about one fully complete Voltron. There was more than one. And how many were there?
2?
Oh,
I think there's 2.
3.
It's 2 with a caveat.
Okay. Wait. Is it? It was
There's a good guy and a bad guy.
one of the wasn't. I can't remember. This is a really long time ago. But wasn't what there were bears? Was one of them like some crazy animals? Is that crazy? Is that true or no?
They're all tigers, right? Or cats.
Lion. There was
Lion.
one was the Lion Force Voltron.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other one was just the robot-y one, random robots,
No.
spaceships.
No.
You're thinking of GoBots.
Am I? Okay.
GoBots did that.
I loved GoBots. Those were awesome.
Yeah, they
Robots
came
weren't
down.
they just like the cheap knockoff of Transformers?
Yes, but they were
Yeah,
still
and Voltron, and they came like around the same time, so it's still like still super obscure awesomeness.
And you could say that Transformers are a knockoff of Voltron.
Yes, exactly.
So, but 2 is. So who said 2?
I said 2.
So I'll give you 2.
Okay.
And the sort of bonus caveat comes from the fact that the second Voltron, there was actually 3 versions of it,
Oh.
but all within the same series. So 2 is correct. We'll give you a point for 2. The first and the thing is, there's a bit of like television shenanigans, like boardroom shenanigans here. So the first season of Voltron, featuring the Lion Force Voltron, was adapted from the series Beast King Go Lion, which from Japan. And then the second season featured the Vehicle Team Voltron, and this was actually adapted from an unrelated series called Armored Fleet, Dairugger something, and Defender of the Universe. And this was what it was you had Lion Voltron, and then after the first season they switched it out, and it kind of pissed everyone off, with Vehicle Voltron, which featured a land Voltron, a sea Voltron, and an air Voltron. And so you could say 2 or 4 in total, really. And for the record, the best Voltron was the Lion Voltron. And I know that Vehicle Voltron was better written. However, Lion Voltron rocked, and that's all. That's just the correct answer.
And Netflix just remade Voltron, right? And that's only the Lion Voltron there, unless they're going to do it. And I think they've had multiple seasons already too. But, maybe they're going to come out with the Vehicle Voltron next.
Yeah, because Lion Voltron had a giant flaming sword, right? And a giant flaming space sword, and Vehicle Voltron had like a helicopter rotor that would chop things up with, because one of the vehicles was a helicopter. It's kind of lame.
Oh, that is lame. Yeah, the sword thing is way better. And in fact, when I think about Voltron, that's the one that I think of. But I had these weird memories of crafts and vehicles of some kind. So that's obviously what you're speaking about.
Yeah.
Glad you cleared it up for me.
Anytime. That's what I'm here for.
Taking us back.
All
A
right.
hazy childhood memory.
Now, this one's, I'm going to get a little obscure here, but we are still within these sort of Transformer wars, even though the Transformers sort of won out.
Just I want to be clear. You're going to get more obscure than you've already been.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a little bit, but
Just making
you'll
sure.
you'll picture it, and then I'll end on an easy note.
Okay.
Mask from 1985 to 1986. So Mask was developed by a toy company called Kenner in 1985, along with an animated television series to help with the toy merchandising. And this was to compete with Transformers. And the animated series debuted in the same year and ran for 2 seasons. And Mask stood for Mobile Armored Strike Command, and they would do battle with Venom, which stood for Vicious Evil Network of Mayhem. There was virtually no story. Mask would fight Venom, and there wasn't even like a sense of like, oh, they're fighting for world domination or they've got something hostage or whatever. It was just bad dudes who just like to tear stuff up, all of which was a means of selling toys. So in Mask, the focus was on the vehicles. What was it that these vehicles could do?
I have almost no memory of this. I remember it existing. I don't remember watching it.
I don't know this.
No?
They could become invisible? Is that...
Could they
become
fly?
Invisible?
Well, they could fly.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely could fly.
But that's not what
I
you're looking
feel like-
for.
No. So where Transformers could transform from a vehicle into a robot, these vehicles could transform into what?
Animals?
Weapons.
Not quite.
A bed.
No.
A single-celled organism.
Could they-
It was a
I'm
means
sure
of getting your children to go to sleep.
it was a way of getting you to the Sears catalog. And what these vehicles could do is they could turn into other vehicles and shoot stuff. So so we'll give weapons to everyone. But what it was like, they had the Jeep, and then like if you popped open the top of the Jeep, a boat would shoot out, and then suddenly, your getaway on water was foiled, and Venom would get thrown into jail as a result. Anyways,
It's not a great premise for a cartoon vehicle, really. I mean, it would be kind of cool to be able to switch into different vehicles, but
so in the end, they were weapons. So if you said weapons, I think that was you, Kevin.
yeah, okay. I feel a little cheap doing that.
It's a little stretch, but anyways.
How about I do 0.5?
All right. So my final question is the Ewoks from 1985 to 1986.
Ooh.
Now, this series focuses on the adventures of the Warwick Ewok family and his friends on the forest moon of Endor before the events of the original Star Wars film. What was the Ewoks' companion show?
Droids.
Yes.
Oh, good one.
Nice.
Originally with its sister series Droids as part of the Ewoks and Droids Adventure Hour. And then soon after, because Droids was canceled after one season, it just was renewed as the all-new Ewoks. And Star Wars Droids.
How'd they even do that? There were no Ewoks in it.
Yeah. It was an hour. They had an hour block of time on Saturday morning.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And it was like, a sort of Star Wars hour. But no one, I guess everyone tuned into the Ewoks, and then the droids would show up, and they didn't want to see like C-3PO stumbling around complaining.
Yeah.
And the Adventures of R2-D2 and C-3PO is a 1985 animated series spinoff. It focuses on the exploits of the droids between the events of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So those are
remember
my
both of those.
cartoon
Yeah.
questions. Sorry,
remember
I'm sorry I got a little obscure there towards the end. But
No, that was good. I have memories
That
of
was
those as
less
well,
obscure.
and I remember them not being great either. But then I might have been a little picky when I was a kid. But I did watch tons of cartoons. So the way the scores are currently, I am in the lead with 7.5. Tristan's following with 6. Sam's trailing that with 5, and Marty's with 4. However, The judges have said that Marty deserves 2 extra points, Sam deserves 1 more point, and Kevin needs to have 1.5 points removed because of tomfoolery that was done throughout the episode, which means that we're all equal.
Kevin, you have a bonus?
I do. It would be Dune related. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
Excessive consumption of the spice melange can do something to you. What does it do?
Turn your eyes bright blue.
Yeah. Marty's got it.
You back on the ground.
Okay, the All Trivia episode. That was a lot of fun. We'll probably do that again for sure. Okay, next episode we're talking to Adrian Tchaikovsky. Very interesting person to talk to. If you have not checked out his books, please do it. His stuff is amazing. All right, thanks for joining us. Until next time.